What's up, YouTube? This has not been the greatest of weekends. I took my kids to Jeep Fest, or whatever they call it, Jeep Takeover of Sevierville. Last night in the Mustang had made plenty of trips. It's been acting pretty good, pretty reliable. I felt pretty comfortable taking a toddler and a baby, and the car died right in bumper-to-bumper traffic. It overheated, and then now it seems like it's not getting fuel. Lots of awesome Jeep people took care of us. They helped me push it off the road. Then they even gave us a ride into town. We were heading to a restaurant, so they took us there. And then I couldn't get an Uber to get back to the car to try to work on it because that whole area is just so busy. This whole Jeep takeover thing is crazy. Tons and tons of Jeeps. So I ended up walking about 2.5 miles with two kids. I had Caleb on my shoulders. I was holding Addie here, and I had a backpack. I was freaking wiped. It was so hot, like 92 degrees. So it was pretty rough. And then my wife came all the way out there. It's about an hour drive to come get us, and the car is still there in Sevierville. So that was a long intro. But what I'm doing today is I got my truck all packed up with tools. I tried getting a car dolly or a car trailer. Nothing available on short notice. I can't find one. So I'm gonna go there, it's another hot day, and try to put in a new fuel pump. And not just any fuel pump, I actually upgraded and I bought a Holley red fuel pump. So I've got my jack in there, I've got blocks, I've got all my tools, and I hope that's gonna work. But that's what we're up to. And I'm gonna take you guys along with me and show you how to install a fuel pump. I got it. Here in the parking lot of this store, super awesome people let me work on my car here. It was the fuel pump. So I just thought it was airlock. I was in really hot traffic. It was like 95 degrees and the thing died. So I just thought maybe it was vapor locked. But no, it was actually the pump. So I just rigged up a Holley red pump. It's basically just hanging in the back here by zip ties. But it's in there. I got a wire running underneath inside to a 12-volt plug in there. Totally ridiculous, but I gotta get it home. I'm gonna park it appropriately, then I gotta go back home, pick up the family, come back here, and the wife and the kids are gonna ride in the truck, and I'm gonna ride this thing home. We made it home. The car actually drove really, really good. I've been battling this hesitation with the car. It really normally drives quite nice, but sometimes when you get on it, there's just wicked hesitation. If you guys are members of my channel, you probably have seen the clips I've put out there, but if you're a paying member, you get access to a few extra little special videos I put out here and there. But I'll take you guys under the car and I'll show you what I rigged up. This is crazy. I'm happy it worked. I'm happy I got home. So hopefully you can see this. Hopefully it's not too dark, but I've got this new Holley red fuel pump, and it's just connected to the existing little piece of rubber here that came out of the tank. This is all coiled up because I bought 5 feet of it because I wasn't sure how much I was going to need. I was trying to be prepared. So I zip tied it all up here to keep it up and out of the way. And then you might be able to see the yellow and blue wires. Those run underneath the car and they go over and in through my driver's side door. And those are the wires that I connected to power temporarily, just to power this thing while we were driving. I'm really, really glad it worked. Now I'm gonna have to figure out how to properly mount this thing, because a fuel pump has to be on the same level as your tank. You can't have it higher, otherwise it could airlock. But I'm thinking of some kind of bracket that comes down. It gets screwed up there somewhere. I'll have to get in here when this isn't so hot. But some kind of bracket that comes down and brings it so it sits just basically right there. So I'm gonna have to take some measurements, but it's really hot under here right now because of this exhaust. But that's it. That's what got us home. This Holley red fuel pump. And how about you just squeeze those together? Just go squeeze like that. All right, there was one. One zip tie, ha ha ha. Just kidding. All right, squeeze again. 2 zip tie. And I'll get this one because you really got to stretch out for it.
I can get it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so there's all the extra hose. This is what I'm kind of thinking for a mounting mechanism. I'm going to try to pound out this magnet, but this is just an average, one of those free gifts they do at Harbor Freight, but the metal is perfect. So rather than buying anything, I know it's a little cheap, but it's already formed for strength. Like I think it's going to be really good. So I'm going to see if I can pound out that magnet, and then let me see if I can get you a little closer. So what I'm thinking is that there is this little lip right here. It's really hard to see, but there's a little gap between this lip and the gas tank. So if I can very carefully drill a hole through that, I can cut this Harbor Freight magnet in half and use that as a bracket for the pump, and that should hopefully get the job done. And I actually also ordered an on-off valve for this, so I can maybe secretly turn the gas flow to the pump completely off if we're ever going to be gone for a while or anything. So that's what we're working on. Let me go make sure Caleb doesn't roll this thing down the hill. Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna have a bunch of extra little magnets to do something with. So I'm gonna measure this out, something like that, and I'll mount the pump to it. Yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. So let me get my cutting wheel out and we'll get that cut. I'm gonna do 5.5 inches. And this side already has a hole in it, so I'll take 5.5 inches off this side and 5.5 inches off the other side. There she goes. So I'm going about 4.5 inches down from the top and making a horizontal line. And then this is about 1 inch thick. Yep, so then I just make a line at the 1/2 inch mark with a little scraper tool. And now I'll punch a dot. Okay. For nuts and bolts, what I'll be using are these stainless steel carriage bolts with nut. And I already have a drill bit that's the same size. And this is a 1/4 inch. There. Gotta do the same with this one. Well, everything I need finally arrived. I was waiting on these. These are special, so I'm not really sure what they're called, but they have tapered threads at the front and they cut through metal. You just have to drill the hole. So what I'm going to do is notch out this Harbor Freight bracket. This little hole isn't quite big enough, so this just has to slip through because this is going to screw into the metal of the car, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. And I'm going to have to dig that out. But that's what I'm going to do. This is 3/8, I believe. I got to make this hole. So both of those holes are drilled out, and that is going to be the part that goes into the car. That's going to be kind of close. I tried getting the right size because this bolt can't be too long or it will pierce into the gas tank, which obviously wouldn't be good. Obviously, I'm here underneath the car. I have one bracket just in place. It's not tightened down or anything. So with my car, I happen to have a hole right there that is the perfect size for this bolt. I'm gonna have to drill one over here, but basically if you see these little grooves in this gas tank, that's pretty much perfect for the mounting locations on this pump. So it's gonna end up going right there. Who knows if this is factory or if somebody drilled this hole at some point. I have no idea. But anyway, so that's gonna be one of my brackets, and the pump is gonna end up mounting about an inch, maybe an inch and a half up. You can kind of see where that's gonna be about the bottom of the gas. If you mount this too high, then you're gonna have gas in the bottom of your tank that you're never gonna be able to use. Got my cat Cody here, assisting with the operation. Let's see how that goes. Nice. That fit great. Okay, so I found a lock washer. It's not stainless, but it'll be okay, I think. Everything else is stainless. The Harbor Freight brackets are actually aluminum. So right now what I'm doing is putting this into place so I can get an idea of hopefully exactly where I need to place the second vertical bracket. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I've got my 90-degree drill set up, and I've got this just flat pry tool that I'm going to put behind the piece of metal I'm drilling, so in between that little piece of flat metal and the gas tank. This part is pretty important, and I really hope I don't mess this one up. Damn, I'm going to need a light. Be right back. Okay. Wow, that did not take long. Must be quite thin there. Yeah, that feels good. This side looks fine. Another thing I did off camera was pick up this on-off valve right here. Just got it off Amazon. I'll have a link in the description below. It's a gasoline valve. It's pretty cool. It's also going to be a safety switch. So if I've ever parked in my car for a long time and I don't want anybody screwing with it, I can just flip that switch off, or this lever off, and nobody's going to know why it doesn't have fuel. And it's 5/16, just like the rest of my fuel line everywhere. Yeah, I'll have to get a screwdriver. I'm also gonna have to raise this up a little bit. So that's the bottom of my tank, and it's right there. I think it can go a little higher. All right, so I'll get a flathead and get that done. Okay, just gotta hold the nut on the left side so I can unscrew this a little bit. There. I probably could have gone a tad higher when I mounted this, but it'll be okay. And for these fittings, these are actually pretty hard to find. I looked out and I found some brass fittings at a Rural King. I don't know if you have any near you, but it's an awesome store. So Rural King is where I got these fittings. And because it's a fuel system with gasoline, you can't just use Teflon tape or pipe dope or anything like that, because the fuel can eat through it. So you have to get this Aerospace 3, and that's the pipe sealant that I put around here. And so far, it looks awesome. It works awesome. It holds. Just don't get it all over yourself, because it's kind of some tough stuff. So I'll have to put the plumbing on hold. So I'm just going to start on the electrical. It's starting to get a little dark, but I've got my ground, and I'm just going to put it on this bolt right here and add a nut to the end. Now, if you live in a northern climate at all and you're worried about connections, this isn't ideal. Granted, I probably won't be driving this in any kind of bad weather or salt or anything on the road, but that is definitely a possible point of failure. You do want to keep your grounds as short as possible, but for something like this, it might be best to run it inside the car. But I'm going to put it here, and if it ever fails, I'll guess that it's probably going to be this right here. And then as for the positive, I'm going to try to follow the normal fuel line that goes to the front of the car. And then I'll just zip tie a wire to that fuel line, and we'll take it up front and we'll get it power up there. Okay, so I've got the connection made here. I've got my soldering iron right there, and I'm going to solder this connection and then wrap it with heat shrink. On something as important as this that's outside the vehicle, I definitely recommend soldering and using heat shrink tubing. I have this kit here that I bought a long time ago, and I just use pieces out of it when I need it. If I could find it, I'll have a link in the description below for that too. But I'm gonna solder this now, and then I'm gonna try to start running the wire to the front. It's starting to get pretty dark, so I'm gonna have to stop after this, but hopefully you can get the perspective of this. So this is the rear of the vehicle, and we're gonna come in here. You'll see the pump. I left a little bit of extra of the positive wire right here in case I ever have to get in there and cut or do anything. And I started to run the blue wire right there along the gas line. You can kind of see it there. I know zip ties are kind of lame, but man, they work, and I think this will be fine. I'm sure a show car wouldn't be like this, but as nice as this car is, I don't think anybody's ever going to see the bottom. So for now, I got to the point where it's about to go right down the transmission tunnel, and I think I'm going to have to change the way I have the car jacked up, because I'm going to have to get down the side. So I'll probably have to drop these tires and then jack it up on the side so I can get in there and finish it the rest of the way. But that's it for now. It's getting too dark. Well, it's Addie and Daddy today. Adeline is going to help me finish this up. Just picked up the fuel line that I needed. We're going to get this connected. So I got another 4 feet, which seems like overkill, but when I measured, it seemed like what I was going to need. I might have to... Hey, you. Hi. You want to come under Daddy's car? Crawl. Just put Adeline down for a nap, and I used this little clip. It's plastic, so hopefully it lasts, but I had a few of these laying around, so I just used this and a self-tapping screw, and I screwed the OEM gas line up high up to that same lip. So hopefully that works. And then I just measured this out. 4 feet was way too long, so there's another 12 bucks that I wasted, but I don't want to make it too tight because I don't want it to kink off right there. But I think right about there looks good. So I'm going to cut that. All right, all of my connections are made. Those are all tight. Now I can get the car off of these jack stands. Then I'm gonna jack the side of it over there so I can finish running the battery positive cable. Well, this would definitely be easier with a lift, but this is what I have. A little nervous about this one, but they seem good. I've got the wire ran. Not sure if you can really see it in here on the video, but it's following the gas line all the way to the front. And then in the front of the car, it actually joins up with the brake line, which is right in there. You can kind of see it. So the gas line actually goes inside the car somewhere in the fender. So I joined it up with the brake line. I believe that's the brake line. But it's coming up through here, and just using a liberal amount of zip ties, because this is all temporary. So this is where we are going to differ. All you need to do is run this wire in there to the ignition switch. This yellow wire that I ran out here is what I could connect that to. Or just run the blue wire in that way. However you do it, that's the next connection you make right in there. But instead, for me, I have both of these wires ran over here to the battery. And the reason is because I'm going to be installing a switch and junction box right here to the side of the battery. It's going to have all fuses right here, and all the connections are going to be made right here, so I could add fog lights off this thing. I installed one in my truck. If you're interested about it, you can watch that video. I'll probably make a how-to video on how to install it in here as well. But anyways, everything is going to be right here, all my power. So I'm bringing my switched ignition here, because that's going to go to the box. And then this blue is my fuel pump, and that's going to be getting power here at the box. So for now, I ran these up here, and I'm just going to connect these two with a butt connector or something, and that's how it'll work for now. And then I'll later, after I install that, I'll get some wire loom and make it all nice again. Well, I'm gonna have to take these gauges out again. I've had these things out so many times during the whole installation process and wiring and everything. It's unfortunately kind of a pain because these screws that are up underneath here have clips on the inside that they screw into, and those clips love to slide around and move. So getting them lined up when I put it all back together is kind of a pain. I was hoping I wasn't gonna have to take this out ever again, but I already ran a yellow wire from the front that's gonna come up through here, and I'm gonna use that to connect to the ignition switch right here. So that way when the key is on, it'll activate the pump. All right, those are out. If you're wondering how I installed these, you're welcome to check out my videos. I have a whole installation video about how I installed all of that. Yep, and we'll get this out of the way. And tucked up, back up in there, is this yellow wire that I ran. I know it looks kind of crazy, but I also have the GPS unit for my GPS speedometer in here, and it's actually pretty organized. It's labeled and everything. But yeah, just got to get that wire, and then we're gonna have to tap into one of these. I forget which one, so we'll have to test that. Okay, I've got the wires exposed here now, and it is the black and green is the wire that I want. This is the switched ignition wire. I'm already using it for a couple things, obviously, but I'll take this tape off right here and make another connection right there. All right, got that all taped up. And if you're wondering, you could use a relay, but in the instructions for the Holly Red fuel pump, it says you don't need a relay. It's only 2 amps that it pulls, which is going to be fine for this right here. The ignition circuit is also fused, so you don't have to add its own fuse for that. Of course, if you want to, that's fine. You're welcome to. I actually have a future plan that will involve a fuse, but that's going to be a future video. It's going to be something pretty cool. But I'm going to be having a hidden switch panel that I will use one of the buttons to kill the pump. So I will be changing this a little bit in the future, and if you just need a normal installation, this is where you would go. Now I'm gonna put my gauges back in and go into the hood. All right, got that all ran. Just have these connected together there at the end. This is the first time that my car has been on all 4 wheels in like 2 weeks, over 2 weeks. So let's start it up, hopefully. And we'll see how the pump sounds. Hopefully the car starts. I know my fans are kind of loud, so let's see if we can hear the pump at all. There's the pump. Not too loud. Oh yeah! Wow, that fired right up. Oh man, that sounds great. Can't wait to drive this thing. I'm idling right around 650 RPM. Feels pretty good. Doesn't feel like it's gonna stall. Usually I keep it around 800 or 900, so it's actually the RPM are down just a little bit. Man, just another really hot day here in Knoxville. This whole fiasco just was bad. It just getting stranded an hour away from home with 2 kids was miserable, and not being able to drive the car for 2 weeks sucked, but I'm really glad it's all together and hopefully improved now that I have an electric fuel pump. But I really hope this helped you guys. I hope this taught you, as you learned alongside me, how to install this pump. But Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one.